Hello everyone and welcome to another incredible game from round 5 of this year's FIDE World Cup. It is a former participant of the FIDE Candidates Tournament, Wang Hao'ya here, facing Gukesh, who is just incredible lately. He entered the top 10 and now he enters number 9, number 8, and he wants to go all the way, but it is, youth and... as usual, youth versus experience, and sometimes it goes in favor of youth, sometimes it goes in favor of experience. Let's see what happened in this one, as it's a pretty exciting game. The Nimzo Indian defense, of course, always enjoyable to watch. Let's see what they come up with. So Wang Hao'ya has the white pieces and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and of course bishop to b4. The Nimzo Indian defense is on the board. We have queen to c2, the classical variation, and pawn to d5. Now we have captures on d5, captures, and now bishop to g5. We have h6 and now bishop to h4. We have castles and pawn to e3, pawn to c5, and now d captures on c5, and now bishop to e6. So all been played before, nothing new here. Knight to f3, and now knight b to d7, preparing to capture back on c5. And here you could continue with something like a3 and actually try to defend your c3 pawn. This is possible, but you give black a lot of counter-attacking possibilities. For example, bishop captures, queen captures. Okay, you can defend the pawn, but then comes g5, bishop to g3, and let's say knight to e4. You attack the queen, and also there's a double attack on the c5 pawn, so you can't really defend that pawn. So instead, c6 is the main move here. This is what Wang Hao'ya goes for. We have b captures on c6, and now bishop to e2. And here there is a game where c5 was played by Gukesh, goes for queen to a5, and it is now, as of move 12, that we have a completely new game. So, okay, Wang Hao'ya castles. Of course, you don't want this pin to remain there forever. Bishop captures on c3, and now b captures on c3. Now about to trade queens. This would make Gukesh's game a bit easier. There wouldn't be so much in the position, and then he would just wait for his chances tomorrow with the white pieces. So here, of course, Wang Hao'ya wants to play a little bit more. We have knight to e4. And rook f to c1. You have to defend your c3 pawn. We have pawn to c5 now. Gukesh controlling a lot of very important squares here. And pawn to c4, trying to undermine the knight on e4. We have rook 8 to b8, and now knight to e1. The idea being probably capturing on d5, and then after bishop captures, kicking away the knight from e4 with f3. This would kick away the knight and also minimize the power of the bishop on this very new d4 square. So that's the idea. We have queen to a3, and now c captures on d5, bishop captures, and queen to d3. Here, Wang Hao'ya offers a queen trade, and Gukesh accepts. Queen captures on d3, bishop captures, and pawn to g5 now. Now, before moving the bishop, he eliminates the knight. Bishop captures on e4, bishop captures, and bishop to g3 comes with tempo. The rook is hanging, so rook to b7, and pawn to f3 now. We have bishop back to g6, and now rook to d1. We have rook to c8, now preparing to start pushing the past c pawn, because the material is equal. It's even bishop and knight versus a bishop and knight, of course, both players having a rook pair, but it's bishops of opposite color. So the main thing you realize in the position is that it is only Gukesh that has a passed pawn. So pawn to e4, and Gukesh starts pushing his pawn with pawn to c4, knight to c2, and of course pawn to c3. He already has a rook behind the passed pawn, so that works well for him. And now comes rook to d6. You could also continue with knight to e3. It would control a lot of squares from here, and then decide where to go from there. But he goes for rook to d6 first, and this fights against Gukesh's plan of going pawn to f5, because he really wants to play pawn to f5 to free up the bishop. Once e4 was played, this bishop is pretty much out of the game, so he has to prepare it. Knight to f8, this defends the bishop, and now he will play, sorry about that, pawn to f5. So rook to c1, putting the rook behind, or in this case in front of the passed pawn, and now pawn to f5. We have rook to d4, and now knight to e6. Chases away the rook, rook to b4, offering a rook trade, and now rook to d7. avoiding the trade for now, but you want to go all the way to the second rank. So knight to e3, and now we have f captures on e4, f captures, and rook to d3, attacking the knight here on e3, and here bishop to f2 was played, and this is where Wang Hao's problems really start. What you have to do here is just cut your losses with rook to c4, and then okay, now you are threatening to capture the rook on c8. If the rook moves, you can also just capture on c3 and defend your knight this way. So a trade here will happen, captures. You give up the e4 pawn, and then you go for something like knight e5. You attack the rook. After the rook moves, you'll play rook captures on c3, and you have to give up the g2 and the a2 pawn, and a1 pawn. And after rook captures on g2, check king f1, rook captures on a2. Okay, you're down 2 pawns, but maybe you can still save this somehow. So this is the absolute best way to play, unfortunately, for Wang Hao. However, bishop to f2 was played, and now look at this. Knight to f4, we have rook to c2, and now rook to d2, offering a trade of rooks, which of course you cannot accept. h3, and now knight to d3, now putting pressure on the bishop here as well. And again, only one way to play this, rook to a4 is the only way to continue. If rook to a4, the idea was knight captures on f2, and after rook captures on d2, now you snatch another pawn with knight captures on h3, and after g captures, you capture the rook on d2, and now you go behind the passed pawn, of course. Rook to c3 goes after the knight. You're going to defend the knight. Sorry about that. You're going to defend the knight with king f2, and now bishop captures on e4 is the final trick that grabs another pawn. You cannot capture because if rook captures, then rook captures on e3, removes the defender of the d1 square, and you're just going to queen on the next move. Or you go rook d4, and then rook captures on h3. Again, you have too much material. So you can play that. After bishop captures on e4, you basically have to go after the d2 pawn, and that's it. The game continues. Black is up a pawn with a very nice position. Whether black can win this, that is up to the player with the black pieces. But after knight to d3, of course, both of them were very low on time. Wang Hao much lower on time. He had like a minute on the clock. Gukesh had around 4 minutes on the clock, and he played rook captures on d2, but now the game is completely winning for Gukesh. And okay, his next move is forcing c captures on d2, but now there is no more move for white. That's the problem. So he didn't even pose a problem for us to use as a pause the video moment. Rook captures on d2 is just completely lost position, and there's nothing you can do about it. The problem is, how do you fight against rook to c1 check? If you play rook to b1, still just rook to c1 with check. There's nothing you can play here. So rook to d4 was played, but now again rook to c1 with check. And now, of course, if you block with the knight, then the knight no longer controls the queening square. So here king to h2 was played, but now the bishop on f2 hangs. Knight captures on f2 was played, and he was in this position on move 38 that Wang Hao resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So it was a bad position in time trouble before even reaching time control. The game ended on move 38. You need 2 more moves to reach time control to be granted additional time, and there just wasn't anything Wang Hao could do. Gukesh outplayed him little by little. He just used this very cool line of the Nimzo Indian defense, this queen to a5 being the new move, and okay, you use the pretty standard stuff, the pressure on c3, then you use the pressure on e4, then you push c5, then you bring the rooks in. So very nicely done by him, and Wang Hao couldn't take on all of this pressure. So it will be up to him to bounce back tomorrow with the white pieces, with the black pieces tomorrow. Gukesh will be having the white pieces, which is also not good news for Wang Hao. So here, okay, you resign because you're down too much material. You could play something like rook captures on d2, but now even rook to h1 check. King g3, knight captures on e4 with check. You're down a full piece. And there's just no playing being down a full piece without any at least positional compensation or something. Yeah, very nicely done by Gukesh. Here are the new live ratings. I'm sure you guys are interested in this. So, okay, Magnus still in number 1 with 2837, followed by Fabiano Caruana in second, Hikaru in third, Dinglieren still in fourth, although not playing. Alireza Firuza in 5th, Yanni Pomnashi in 6th, and Gukesh now jumps to number 7, overtakes Wesley Sovishwarantan Anand and Anish Giri. So absolutely incredible, but now it's going to take a lot of grinding to reach the heights of Yanni Pomnashi, Alireza Firuza, Ding, Nakamura, Caruana, and of course, much later, Magnus Carlsen. And here, for those of you who are interested in all of the results of round 5, these are the results. So, skip it if you don't want your day spoiled. These are the results. Magnus Carlsen defeated Vasily Ivanchuk. Wang Hao lost to Gukesh, as you've just seen. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, big congratulations to Gukesh for crushing absolutely everyone with such ease. Even here with the black pieces, it's just amazing how he does it. We'll see if he can continue this all the way and maybe even qualify for the candidates tournament. So thank you all. I will see you soon and have an excellent rest of your day.